Hi, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Thompson. Last night I was talking to my grandson Jordan, and I asked Jordan if he wanted me to read him a story, and he said yes. And I said, "What story do you want?" And he said, "About Goliath." I think we've read almost every Goliath story there is, but I found one more. It's called The Terrible Giant. So Jordan, this is for you and anybody else that likes to hear stories about Goliath. David's heart pounded with excitement as he hurried along the trail. I might even see a real battle, he thought. His brothers had been away so long that their father was worried. Take them some food, David, he had said, and see how they are. As soon as David arrived at the army camp, he knew something was very wrong. Soldiers stood about in anxious huddles, their faces white with fear. What's wrong? Demanded David when he found his brothers. Look, they muttered, and with shaking fingers they pointed across the valley. There on the top of the hill he stood, the giant Goliath, the biggest man in all the world. His great voice boomed and echoed among the rocks, and his metal armor flashed in the sunshine. Run and hide, growled David's brothers. It's been the same every day for weeks. He stands there daring one of us to go fight him. Your God's no good, roared the giant mockingly. Why doesn't someone fight him? Demanded David. He can't talk about God like that. You silly little boy, snapped David's oldest brother. Can't you see? He's enormous. Yes, but God's on our side. I'll go myself if no one else will. The giant actually shook with laughter when he saw a boy hurrying towards him carrying a sling. All the Jewish soldiers shook, looked on in horror, and King Saul held his breath. What's going to happen? You come against me with a sword and a spear, called David, but I come in the power of God. I'll show the world how great He is. I'll give your body to the birds for their dinner, yelled Goliath, and charged with his massive spear at David. David pulled a pebble from his bag, and carefully he took aim. He knew he could not afford to miss with that angry giant crashing toward him. Goliath's great mouth was open wide as he roared with mocking laughter. But through the air came a little stone and hit him between the eyes. Suddenly, the laughter stopped. The giant spear was nearly touching David when Goliath staggered and crashed to the ground, flat on his face. All the watching Philistines gasped with horror, and David's brothers stood gazing in surprise. Quickly, David darted forward, picked up the giant's sword, and chopped off his ugly head. With screams of terror, the Philistines began to run for their lives, with the Jewish soldiers chasing after them. You can't be a shepherd anymore, King Saul said to David. Come back to my palace with me, and you shall marry my daughter. All the way home, girls came dancing out of every village they passed. clapping and cheering and throwing flowers at David, the giant killer. Let's talk about the story. Why was David hurrying at the beginning of the story? Because he wanted to obey his father? Because he wanted to see the battle? Better read the Bible to find the answer to that one. What made the army of Israel so afraid? Because Goliath was really big. What did you say? Why wasn't David frightened like everyone else? They were scared of Goliath, weren't they? But not David. I think it's because he trusted in God. Why was David able to defeat Goliath? How did he do that? All by himself? God helped him. Is there someone or something in your life that seems big and scary like Goliath? I get scared sometimes. What can you do when something or somebody scares you? You can trust in God. And you can pray and ask God to help you, because with God's help, we can do anything we need to do. Thank you for listening. And Jordan, I hope you liked another Goliath story. That's what you asked for.